Hello, my name is Keely. I'm 38 years old, and today I will share a story that happened to me and changed my life in ways I never imagined. If you like stories that stir deep emotions, subscribe and stay with me until the end. Let's go. I've always been practical about everything. My work, my home, my marriage. Nothing was left to chance. At 38, I had a life I was proud of. Gabriel, my husband, was an ideal partner. Loving, caring, and completely in love with me. And I loved him. I never doubted that. But in moments of solitude, when the house was silent and the day was ending, thoughts would creep in. Waves of sensations and images I had never dared explore. It was like a closed book I was afraid to open. All seemed under control, until my friend Bianca invited me for a casual coffee. It was supposed to be just another afternoon. Or so I thought. "A friend of mine will join us," said Bianca, arranging the chairs at the cafe table. When Fernanda arrived, something changed. She was 35, wearing a black dress that subtly but undeniably embraced her body. Her red lips were an invitation, and the soft but striking perfume she wore filled the air. "Mariana, this is Fernanda," Bianca introduced, smiling like it was the most natural thing in the world. When our eyes met, I felt a jolt through my body. Fernanda looked at me as if she could see right through me, to a part of myself I didn't even know. "Nice to meet you," said Fernanda, extending her hand with a smile that was sweet, yet dangerously intriguing. "Nice to meet you," I replied, my voice coming out softer than I intended. The conversation among the three of us flowed easily, but something unspoken lingered. Fernanda's gaze lingered on me in a way I'd never experienced before. Each word she said laced with a silent message only I seemed to catch. When I returned her gaze, I finally dared to face what was happening. In her eyes there was a silent challenge, a provocation that made my heart race. When Bianca got up to get more coffee, silence filled the space between Fernanda and me. She leaned slightly closer, her smile teasing. "Are you always this serious?" she asked in a low voice, almost like a secret. My face flushed. "Something rare for me. I don't know. Maybe," I managed to say, trying to sound indifferent but clearly shaken. She murmured, as if analyzing me. "Interesting." Before I could reply, Bianca returned and the moment dissipated. But the tension remained, hanging in the air like a hidden mark. When we said goodbye, Fernanda held my hand a little longer than necessary. "I hope to see you again," she said with a smile that promised much more than friendship. I watched her walk away, feeling something inside me shift, as if a door I didn't know existed had been thrown open, revealing a world I didn't even know I needed to explore. I spent the rest of the day trying to push away thoughts of Fernanda, but it was useless. Days later, Bianca invited me for a walk in the park. Our friendship had always been easygoing, but now something hung in the air. Something Bianca probably sensed, but I wasn't ready to admit, even to myself. "So, what did you think of Fernanda?" Bianca asked with a mischievous smile. I stayed silent for a few seconds, staring at the trees. "She seems interesting," I said, trying to sound indifferent. Bianca laughed, a laugh that said more than words. "Interesting is putting it lightly. Fernanda is intense. She looks at you like she knows exactly what you're thinking." My face flushed, but I pretended not to notice. Bianca continued, casually but playfully. "You know she's into both women and men, right?" I stopped in my tracks, surprised. "What?" "Yeah," Bianca shrugged. "She's always been open about it. It's not a big deal for her." I murmured a weak "oh," trying to hide the turmoil inside me. Bianca smiled knowingly. "I saw how you two looked at each other," she said. I tried to deny it, but my voice betrayed me. The rest of the walk was quiet, but inside me, everything was turning upside down. Bianca had planted a seed I could no longer ignore. Later, when Fernanda invited me for another coffee, I accepted, maybe out of curiosity, maybe out of something I didn't want to admit. At the small bistro, Fernanda was already waiting, her relaxed smile warming the space around her. She wore a white blouse, slightly open, and dark jeans that hugged her curves perfectly. When she smiled and greeted me, I felt the ground shift. "Thanks for coming," she said, pulling a chair for me. "I couldn't say no," I replied, trying to be casual, but failing miserably. Fernanda leaned over slightly, her eyes locked on mine. "You seem different today," she commented, voice low. "Different how?" I asked. "More open, like you're ready for something new." I tried to laugh, but it came out nervous. Fernanda smiled, a knowing, gentle smile. "You give yourself away in the small details," she said. Her words left me exposed. "You're trying to figure out what's happening between us," she said. I froze. "I'm married," I whispered. "And I respect that," Fernanda said, voice soft but intense. "But it doesn't change what you're feeling." I couldn't deny it. From there, the story unfolds into deeper territory, into discoveries, tensions, and a journey of emotions neither of us could predict. I tried to distance myself from Fernanda after that coffee, but it seemed impossible. The memory of that meeting followed me like a shadow. In the following days, I found myself replaying every word, every gesture, every glance. There was something about her that was impossible to ignore, and the more I tried to push the thoughts away, the stronger they became. Then came the invitation, a simple message, but loaded with meaning beyond the words. "Come to my house tomorrow for some wine and conversation. I promise I won't bite, unless you want me to." I froze. My mind screamed to delete the message, forget it, move on. But before I even realized, my fingers had already typed. "Okay." The next night, I arrived at Fernanda's house with my heart pounding like never before. Each step felt heavier, as if I were crossing into unknown but inevitable territory. The house was cozy, lit by soft lights that created an intimate atmosphere. Soft music played in the background, and the air carried that same sweet floral scent that now seemed part of her. When the door opened, there she was, Fernanda, wearing a blue satin dress that hugged her body perfectly. Her smile was warm, but carried something more, a promise that left me speechless. "I'm so glad you came," she said, her voice a gentle invitation. "I don't know why I'm here," I admitted, feeling the nervousness tighten in my chest as I stepped inside. "Of course you know," Fernanda said, holding my hand briefly, just enough for her touch to ignite my skin. The living room was cozy, with a wide sofa surrounded by aromatic candles and glasses of wine reflecting the candlelight. I sat down, trying to get comfortable, but the atmosphere conspired against any sense of ease. Fernanda, meanwhile, seemed relaxed. But there was tension in the air, the same tension that made my mind oscillate between fear and desire. "You're nervous," she observed, leaning closer, her eyes locked on mine. "I am," I admitted, taking a deep breath. "This is wrong. My husband—" "I know," she interrupted softly, her voice full of understanding. "I'm not here to judge you or pressure you. But tell me, Mariana, why are you here?" I stayed silent, staring at the wineglass in my hands. The answer was clear in my mind, but saying it out loud felt impossible. Fernanda waited, patient, her eyes softened by kindness. "Because you make me feel things I've never felt before," I finally confessed, my voice barely a whisper. Fernanda smiled, a smile both welcoming and provocative. She moved closer, her fingers lightly brushing mine. A simple touch, but charged with an energy that left no room for doubt. "Mariana," she said, her voice low and enveloping, "you don't have to decide anything right now. Just allow yourself to feel." I lifted my eyes to meet hers, and for a moment, that was the only thing that existed. The outside world seemed distant, irrelevant. When Fernanda raised her hand to touch my face, tracing a soft line down my cheek with her thumb, my whole body responded before my mind could even process what was happening. "You're so beautiful," she murmured, her gaze intense but filled with tenderness. Before I knew it, Fernanda leaned in and pressed her lips to my forehead. A gesture of affection so surprising, yet exactly what I needed. "I don't want you to do anything you don't want to," she whispered. "I don't know what I want," I replied, my voice trembling. "That's okay," Fernanda said, taking my hands between hers. "But you know what I think? I think you deserve to feel alive." For the first time in a long while, my eyes filled with tears, not of sadness, but from the overwhelming sense that, with Fernanda, I could simply be myself, without fear, without masks. I knew I couldn't keep that whirlwind inside me for much longer. Fernanda had awakened something I never even imagined existed within me, a side that was now pleading for more, something I couldn't yet name. However, honesty had always been the foundation of my marriage with Gabriel, and hiding this from him wasn't something I could do. It was on an ordinary evening during dinner at home that I found the courage. I took a deep breath, feeling my heart pounding harder with every second. "Gabriel," I began, my voice trembling, "I need to tell you something that's been confusing me." He immediately put his utensils down, his eyes attentive and filled with concern. "What is it, my love?" he asked gently. I swallowed hard and decided to be straightforward. "I met someone," I said. "It's not what you might be thinking. It's a woman. And somehow, she awakened something inside me that I can't explain." He stayed silent, studying me with that analytical, calm look that always made me feel safe. After a long moment, he finally spoke. "Do you feel like something's missing between us?" "No," I answered quickly, holding his hand tightly. "I love you, Gabriel. I love our life, our story. But there's something new I'm feeling, and it's about exploring a side of myself that I never knew existed. I don't want to hide this from you." He thought for a moment, and the silence between us seemed to echo through the room. When he finally smiled, it was a smile filled with understanding, but also with something deeper. "I want to see you happy, Mariana," he said, his voice steady. "If this is something you need to explore, I want to be by your side. Maybe we can explore it together." His words caught me completely off guard. I felt tears welling in my eyes, not from sadness, but from a profound sense of relief, as if a massive weight had been lifted from my shoulders. Days later, everything was set. When I told Fernanda about the conversation, she seemed delighted. "So you decided to share your discovery," she said, with that mischievous smile that had become so familiar to me. On the night of the meeting, when we arrived at Fernanda's house, the atmosphere was even warmer and more intimate than I expected. The low lights, the soft scent of candles, the wine already poured. Fernanda welcomed us wearing a red dress that seemed tailor-made, hugging every curve perfectly. "Welcome," she said, her warm smile lighting up her face as she greeted us. The conversation started light, but the tension in the air was palpable. Fernanda had a way of making Gabriel feel comfortable, something that surprised me. At the same time, I found myself admiring how she managed to connect with both of us in completely different but equally intense ways. "You two have such a beautiful connection," Fernanda commented, looking at us with sincerity. "It's rare to see that." Gabriel smiled, squeezing my hand on the table. "We've always been very open with each other. I think that's the foundation of everything." "And now," Fernanda said, leaning forward slightly, her smile filled with intentions, "that openness has brought you here." The closeness between the three of us increased with every passing moment. Fernanda's captivating energy seemed to fill every corner around us. The attention grew with every glance, every subtle gesture. Gabriel looked at me, concern still flickering in his eyes. "Are you okay?" he asked, holding my hand firmly. I nodded, smiling softly. "I am. I just don't know how to process all of this." "Let it happen naturally," Fernanda said, reaching out to hold my other hand. "The important thing is that everyone feels comfortable." The touch of Fernanda's hand on Gabriel's seemed to seal a silent pact between us, a new balance between the familiar and the unknown, the safe and the thrilling. When Fernanda placed one hand on my face and the other on Gabrielle's. The gesture was more intimate than any words could be. She took her time, guiding us with a delicacy that wrapped around everything in the room. "You two are incredible together," she murmured, her eyes shining with sincerity. "And it's a privilege to be part of this." The rest of the night was a whirlwind of sensations and discoveries. Each touch, each gesture was carefully crafted so that we all felt comfortable. Fernanda had a gift for creating connections. And Gabriel, always curious, was more open than I ever could have imagined. Gabriel sat down on the sofa nearby while Fernanda and I shared a glass of wine. Then, Fernanda kissed me. Her kisses were intense. With her fingers, she explored every part of my body with a tenderness almost impossible to describe. It was as if she knew exactly where to touch, awakening sensations in me that I had never experienced before. The wine helped dissolve any lingering shyness. Gabriel simply watched, his breath betraying his growing excitement. I felt the warmth of Fernanda's body close to mine, our movements naturally falling into a rhythm, guided by an irresistible chemistry. I could feel her breathing, the happiness she seemed to find in the dance we shared. She seemed to understand my body better than I did, knowing how to drain my energy and lift me to the stars without ever leaving those four walls. Her lips spoke the secret language of my body. Her silky kisses led me to heights of happiness I never imagined possible. I lost count of how many times I reached the peak of pleasure, spilling my warmth onto her body like spilled white wine. And with the heat of my body, I made Fernanda reach her full happiness as well. When I looked at Gabriel, his face showed joy. Seeing us happy seemed to make him happy too. That was when Fernanda invited him to join our dance. I guided him to dance with her. Fernanda knew how to dance with him too. I noticed how her lips knew exactly how to treat Gabriel's body. I didn't leave her alone. I joined her, and together we caressed him, our lips bringing him pleasure. His happiness was evident in the way he breathed, trembling with every touch. As I guided that dance, my goal was simple: to give him happiness, just as he had allowed me to have it with Fernanda. Without a word, Fernanda leaned her hands onto the couch, and I helped him find the rhythm. Gabriel held Fernanda's waist firmly while I guided his movements carefully, with affection, along the hidden and most satisfying path. Fernanda confessed, breathless, that she permitted us to fully explore her, a confession whispered between gasps. Soon after, Gabriel could no longer resist. He held her tighter, and only released her after his warmth had completely spilled over her, like white wine poured onto a sunflower. At the end, sitting together on the couch, sharing a last glass of wine, Fernanda looked at us with a serene smile. "I hope this is just the beginning of something even more special," she said. I exchanged a glance with Gabriel. Something new had been born between us. Something beyond anything we had ever known before. "I hope so too," I replied, feeling more complete than ever. Our adventures continued for many years, until Fernanda got married. Gabriel thought that would be the end of our stories, but that's when I found a new friend, and Fernanda, a new dance partner.